What if I told you that building a die-hard community around your brand literally had nothing to do with you, but about creating connection amongst the members? Well, if you're curious, and you should be, you are going to love today's episodes of Creatives Rule the World. Or it's just one episode, but you get the picture. Today, I'm interviewing my mentor and friend, Lindsay Marie, and we are going to be talking and diving deep into how to create a powerhouse brand and become a powerhouse woman by creating community around your brand. So this is going to be a great conversation, whether you are selling a physical product or you're someone who has a community like I do, where you're mentoring and coaching other people. Lindsay is really a master at understanding how to create connection amongst your members, how to build an audience, how to really trust that you're on the right path, right? By following just your creative flow and so much more. You're going to love this episode today. So if you're a creative who has been stepping into your greater power and you're ready to really build a brand around your genius, well, you're in the right place. So before I dive into today's episode, I would love to invite you to subscribe to this channel and make sure that you click that little notification bell so you never miss a beat. All right, let's dive in. Okay, welcome to the show, Lindsay Marie.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you here because you actually came into my world maybe 2 years ago. Around the time I moved to Arizona, I was introduced to you by someone, and then I found out you had this amazing event called Powerhouse Women. I went to the event and my friend Amy was speaking there at that event. And I was just like, oh my God, this woman is amazing. I'm so excited. I'm going to have her on my podcast when the time is right.
And here we are.
Here we are. And I just went to your Expanders retreat, which was game changing. So thank you for the invitation and for just being the person that you are. The reason why I wanted to have you on today is talk about how you've built conscious community in your business, in your personal life, and also just how you're creating community. So before we kind of dive into that, tell me, like, where did Powerhouse Women start?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, I very much created a solution to a need that I had. And I think a lot of us end up starting businesses that way. And it honestly was not even intended to become a business.
Yeah.
And I love to share this part about the journey. I was even just reflecting back on this for myself because, you know, there's a magic that happens when you lean into an idea and you don't have an attachment to monetizing it.
Right.
And for me, that was the first book that I wrote. I wrote a book just as a personal challenge. I was in a season where I was just really restless. I knew there was more for me. I was feeling like I wasn't like reaching my full potential. I'm a Capricorn, so that doesn't tell you everything you need to know. But I was in this other business and I just felt really stagnant. I felt like I wasn't pushing myself. And a book was the least, like the thing that made the least sense for me to do. I just felt this very strong yes inside when I was presented with this opportunity. It was like a program. They were going to help you self-publish. And I just remember saying yes and then being like, what am I doing? Like, this is going to be so much time. I just knew there was something in me that was like, this is an opportunity to expand. And ended up writing a book, went through a whole year. I mean, it totally changed my life because I had to confront all the places where I normally would quit and when I would stop and where I would play small. I had to like come face to face with all the things that stopped me. And I realized, I mean, that was why I wanted to write it, was there were women in my life who would see, you know, the glamorized version of the previous business. It was in network marketing, so it was like trips and, you know, getting all this recognition, being on stages. I left my corporate job, and that was all great, but you know, they would see what I had done and then remark things like, well, I just would love to do something of my own. I wish I could start a business, but here's all the reasons I can't. And every time I would hear, and I know you hear these things from women too, it's like you hear the excuses and you're like, oh, we all deal with that. Like everyone has the same things. We all don't have enough time. It was just, I saw this need to have more honest conversations about what it really looks like when you're pursuing a big dream. And that was the only intention I had for the book, is let me just be a little bit more honest about what the experience behind the scenes has been like. The book was self-published, it comes out, and the editor that I worked with said, you know, you should do a book launch event. And I was like, okay, I mean, I guess I've like been to events, I could figure this out. And the very first event was just meant to celebrate this book that had, you know, I published just to prove to myself that I could overcome a really big, scary goal. And it was the very first ever Powerhouse Women event. And I'll never forget, at the very end, people were like, well, what's next? And I was like, waving them off. I was like, literally nothing. I have not thought beyond today. This is all I've got. But there was something there. Like, I knew that I felt an energy in that room. I felt a resonance with this message that I really wanted to share. And so it took a little while for me to, I guess, like, accept that as a call and even figure out, well, what is this as a business? It was just an event and not one that was profitable. So, there was no community. There was nothing. It just was, it was my own personal desire to overcome the things that get in my way, knowing that in me sharing about that journey, it would also help other people. And now here we are. I mean, eight
so
years,
crazy.
9 events later, and it's wild.
So there have been 9 events.
This year will be 9.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's
kind of
so exciting.
Also can't believe it.
I mean, I kind of came into your world a couple years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. So I remember seeing the event where you were wearing that green blazer. And I'm like, why did I not go? It's here in Scottsdale. And I'm like, I'm so behind. I need to make friends here. And then I went to that event a couple years ago. Last year was 800 people.
Yeah.
Insane.
It was insane.
We going for 1,000 this year?
Yeah. What's really special about what Powerhouse Women is that I really keep that same way of relating to the business, meaning I don't put random arbitrary goals on her. I don't just need to grow for the sake of growing. Now, it may turn into 1,000 people, but maybe it's smaller this year. I don't know. But I think what I notice is that when I put it's not even unrealistic.
Right.
When I put goals that, unless I get like a clear intuitive ping, like this is the number to shoot for, I just let it be what it's meant to be. And of course, then I have, as a business owner, I have budgets and I have things that I know I need to work within, but I don't know what it'll be this year. I think
It's exciting.
surprise me either way.
I love it. That's so fun. I do the opposite. I put arbitrary random goals on everything that I do super high.
I do that in other places in my life, and then I realize I'm usually either I'm not thinking big enough, which is often the case, or I'm putting so much self-worth into that goal that I get off track with. There's an energy that when I'm operating in, it's flow. It's like I'm a generator in human design. So it's like when I'm really tuned into that, I usually don't put a number to things because I would put a number that's too small. Or I tie myself to it. And then that just goes off the rails real fast.
Okay, so how have you been able to unwind the self-worth from the goal? This is something I'm actually working on because
I know, I need to actually think about it.
This is something I've been working on. I had an intuitive tell me that your lesson here in this world is to unconditionally love yourself and not basically correlate the success of your business with who you are as a human being. Yeah. Jason's been telling me this for years, but I'm like, when she said that, I was like, you're 53 years old and you're still doing this. You need to learn this lesson. So it's interesting for me to hear how other people have done that.
Yeah. And it's like, if I'm being honest, it's a constant lesson. I think this last couple of years, really doing the deeper work of inner child healing and understanding where this pattern came from, where for me, how it manifests is there was a definite connection that I didn't realize that was there between having to perform for love, having to, and the way that looked as a child was I was the oldest one, and we had, my mom watched a ton of other kids, was always babysitting kids.
Right.
We had like very little money, so it was like whatever we could do to, as a family, to make ends meet, and she would babysit kids. And, I was just so aware of the fact that there was a lot of energy and a lot of needs everyone else had. So I made it my mission to not need anything. But then there's also like a very real need to be seen and to be loved. And I got love and attention when I was getting good grades, when I was, making the cheer squad. And I don't think I realized how much that pattern really was ingrained and I think it's important to do this type of work and get to the root of where it's not like I just needed validation. It felt like my very survival as a human being relied on being seen and performing. So a lot of like the work that I've had to do is uncouple okay, I have to work hard in order to directly produce results. I have to work in order to earn people's love, which tended to look like overgiving in relationships. So the healing process really has been the awareness of the pattern, working with different coaches, mentors, therapists to get to the root of it. And then now that I know the root of it, I'm more aware when that pattern is like in the driver's seat, which is probably partly why I resist attaching certain goals to certain parts of the business.
Right.
Because I just know I'm susceptible to it. Like I start to make it feel like, I'm worthless as a human being if I don't reach this goal.
It's a hard one to unwind. So my friend Zach said to me, because this whole thing happened, and then I had to, of course, go to breath work to like clear it. And he's like, Tracy, we're still going to love you even if you're homeless. And you won't be homeless because we'll just take you in. But like, we'll love you even if you're homeless. And your work, the way you work or the amount you work has nothing to do with whether or not we love you as who you are. It's really fascinating. I'm not the oldest. I'm the second oldest, but there's 8 kids in my family. So it's kind of the same thing. And I know Jason probably really resonates with that too, being like a performer and feeling like you have to perform to get love or to perform to be loved, achieve to be loved. It's a lot.
And I was really unaware of it for a long time, but understanding that now and then understanding where it is absolutely appropriate to have different goals and metrics in a business. And then also the places where and I just kind of like talk about the business as like its own entity. That's how I relate to it. Just needs some space, some room to breathe. Because I think as a human, I tend to really limit what's possible. And I've noticed that too, is I think because I don't want to disappoint myself and I don't want to fall short of these impossible standards I have for myself, I'll intentionally not allow myself to think really big. So I think there's this fine line as business owners, as creatives, of being able to hold a big vision. But here's what I think it is. I think we tend to sabotage ourselves when we get too attached to a specific outcome.
Yeah, that's it.
So like even like when people are manifesting, or if it's like, oh, I would love to have this person on my podcast. When we get too hyper fixated on it's got to be that person or I'm not good enough, I think it's just it puts a different energy out there that isn't conducive to the actual outcome we want.
Right. That's true. Attachment is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And that's the whole let them theory, right? It's just in a certain way. I was talking with a friend about this. She's the COO of Hay House, which published Mel Robbins' books. She's like telling me like this book is like completely exceeded our expectation. And then there were some troubles going on. And I was like, well, here's the thing about all this spiritual work that we do, right? Nothing's really new. It all comes down to this idea of, that book is amazing though, if anyone listening hasn't picked it up, definitely do. But this idea of non-attachment, right? Like you show up, you do the work, and you try to release, it's very hard, the attachment to the outcome, to what people think about you. And being a public figure, being someone who's in front of an audience, it's hard because there is so much coming at you, whether you know about it or not, to be detached from that.
I feel like I heard it shared in this way, and just recently, I can't remember exactly who to credit this to, of that it's such a razor fine line that we have to show up and operate as though like, here's my goal. Here's the thing I'm committed to, like all the way up till like the final, like 99th percentile. And then at the moment that it's like, it tips over into, like, I look at it as like, we're about to start selling tickets for this event. It's like, I work my ass off up until like the very, like Sunday night, I will link up those offers. And then for 2 weeks, all I get to do is play and be in like a great energy space and just, it's like important for me to like actually just release the outcome. knowing that, because I think it has to be both. It's like there has to be real world physical effort, strategy into things. But it's like at the moment you feel yourself getting attached, that's the time to pull back and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now I'm not actually even putting the right energy into this. It's better to pull back and reset yourself and detach from the outcome before you start to take more action. Otherwise, we start to get into this feeling of like trying to force things.
Right.
And it's just not the right place. For me, I can just say
I think for
it's not the right
anyone,
place
that's awesome
to operate from.
I love that.
I don't know where we got off on that tangent.
I don't know.
There
We
you
just
go,
went,
people.
there we go. I know. All over the place.
Somebody needs to hear
Dyslexia
that.
over here going in circles.
With all, like, my friend Lori especially, like, we're just both like, ah! I'm like, we will land this plane. We might take you to Tulsa, back to Orlando, but like, we're going to land the plane. Just watch us. We'll get to community.
So we're going to make a hard pivot here.
Okay.
Not so hard, but sort of a pivot. So you're selling tickets to your event. I wanted to really talk about community because I was at your Expanders retreat and you had some really interesting things to say about how you've built community different. And I remember when I was at Lori's Girlfriends in Business event, we were standing across the table, we're talking about human design. And I don't know much about your human design, but you were mentioning something. I don't know why I remember I'm connecting this part, but you said something about, what's yours, 4-6 or 2-6 or
I'm a 2-4 generator.
That's right. 2-4 generator.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, it's all about community. So it's fascinating to me that you have just built this amazing community and that's really your gift. So let's talk a little bit about how you've really cultivated community. The first question I want to ask is, or just kind of lead into, is that you mentioned like one of the key parts of building community is not just about it being about you. It's about the community. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to understanding that community, the way I define it, is different than like building an audience. And building an audience is important if you are someone who has a message to share, who has a platform you want to get out there. Like, you need to care about building an audience, which is just means how can you get more people to become aware of what it is that you're doing. And what I realized, I didn't actually pause to reflect on what we were doing differently. I was just doing it until people started to ask me questions about how we did it. And I really took the time to sit down and think through, well, what was different about the way we were approaching building the first events and, selling the first programs when there really wasn't an audience. Because we've always had a very high conversion rate for like the size of the traditional, like from a marketing standpoint, audience. And I realized, it's because I took it a level deeper where, yes, I was always thinking about, okay, how can we grow our audiences across all of our platforms? But because I had a small audience, I knew I just had to think differently. And the thing I didn't even realize I was doing is, instead of just stopping at, okay, how can I get people to want to connect with me and the brand? I started to ask, okay, now how do I get these people to connect with each other? And I mean, that goes so far beyond, like, it's not about me. People want to connect with me and my story, but that even is overwhelming for, like, me personally, to think that people are only coming to these events because they want to have a moment to get to connect with me. I would love to get to connect with every single one of those 800 people. I just know it's probably not going to be realistic. So from the beginning, I really just infused this understanding that they were there to connect with each other. That yes, like, I'm a part of this community too, and I cannot wait to connect with as many people as I can. I just also have really firm energetic boundaries, and I want to show up fully when I'm showing up with people.
Exactly.
And so it helped me, number one, I think, as someone who actually has quite introverted tendencies. Like, I'm very energetically sensitive in big groups. So even the generator 2-4, the 2 is actually a hermit. The 4 is like the community person. So I can hermit real hard. And all of my opportunities happen when I'm building relationships. So I've really had to learn how to harness that. And what ended up happening, I think, just in an effort to provide people value, help them connect with each other, protect my energy, and so that I could show up in the way that I wanted to, it ended up creating, I mean, the most diehard, connective community of women that I've ever experienced. I'm sure there's other amazing communities out there, but the Powerhouse Women community really does have a different energy to it. And I think it was that. I really think it was just prioritizing from the beginning that this is not about me. I'm here and I'm just building a business the same as all of you are, but really prioritizing in every, like I'm talking about every Instagram post I do, every single place that I'm showing up in any way, I'm thinking about how does this become an opportunity to connect people?
It's incredible how you do that too. Because one of the things I've noticed at the events is you're always like calling out people, in the audience.
People will say that and they're like, how do you know everyone's name? I'm like, I don't. I guess I just
certain people.
Speak to the people that I know. But that's important too, because and again, I actually would love to learn every single person's name in that room of 800. But something that this is a business lesson I took from Taylor Swift, okay? You didn't ask, but let's go there.
Let's go.
I am fascinated by Taylor Swift as a brand.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she makes people feel so seen is not that she sees every single one of 45,000 people in a stadium. You see her seeing individual people, meaning someone in the audience just sees Lindsay saying, oh, hey, Tracy, remember both, and like sharing, like I'm just on stage, I'm just in my flow or whatever, and then I'm like thinking about those of you who I do know and the people I do know your names, or I at least know your Instagram handles, and tying that in that moment, it makes people realize, no, this is someone who cares. Like, I'm seen here. Even if it wasn't you who was seen in that moment. And I'll never forget, there was this video I watched years ago when Taylor Swift wasn't even as big of a brand as she is now, where I'm sure she had her team do it, but they picked like 20 fans and bought them like such individualized Christmas gifts.
Oh, really?
Like, researched these people, and then some of them she showed up and like delivered the gifts, but even the ones where they opened it and it was like, oh my gosh, that's like a sweater for my cat and my cat's name is like knitted on it.
Really?
And you just saw like the level of intention. I'm not even like as much of a super fan where I would ever be on the gift list.
Yeah.
But I saw her taking this extra interest in the people that she served, and I felt more connected to her community just watching that. And so I think the way we can all do this as brands, as creators, is, okay, you won't be able to have those special moments with everybody, but how can you make individual people within your community feel seen? Like, where there's so many opportunities that all of us have that we're maybe missing just because we're not aware of them. And that goes so far in really cementing the community and making people feel a part of it.
Right. I have to tell you a funny story. I don't know if I told you this before, but at the last event, you're like, oh, where's Alacia? Where's Alacia? And I was like, Alacia Zastro. And I was like, oh my God, I've been stalking that girl. Where is she? What's she wearing? And I see her stand up. She's wearing this like green
Bright
dress.
Green. Yep. See, I remember her outfit.
She walks out. I don't remember even why you were calling her up. And I go and stalk her. So there's a funny story. I host masterminds and events and stuff like that. And I was hosting one here. And one of my students was like, Alacia Zastro lives in Phoenix. Maybe she can come and speak at your mastermind. And I was like, oh, I'd love to. And then she launched her book, Higher Self Habits. Now we've become good friends. Like, we've even gone on like double dates with her and her husband. It's a big joke because like I find her, I like stalked her at the event. I'm like, I've been like messaging you. I've sent you like 5 messages and I've emailed you. And she's like, oh, it's my area of opportunity because I'm not following you. It was going into like the other, the request folder or whatever. Yeah. It's so funny because the way that that was one thing where I was like, oh my gosh, thank God she called her out, because now I have this great friend who I ended up stalking because I wanted her to speak at my mastermind, all because you called her out of the audience.
See? And it's all like a connection. Yes. And usually in those opportunities, what I'm doing is I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, you need to connect with her over there. I met her last night. And again, I won't get to do that for every single person. I had to really get over the fear that someone's going to feel left out, because I know my intention is pure. And now there's enough, because I model it, that ends up being how the community operates, that they take it and make sure that it gets translated to everybody who's there.
So for different types of businesses, I know you used the example at the Expanders Retreat of Dylan Lex.
Yeah.
How would you recommend that they create community around a brand? And let me backtrack for a second, because something you said about the Taylor Swift thing I want to pull out, because really I feel like there's something going on in the Powerhouse Women that they have an identity that's connected to Powerhouse Women. And it's the same thing as Swifties. They have a connection to Taylor Swift. Did you intentionally create that identity, or was it just something that happened?
No, I think because I am also a part of this community, because I created something that was out of a personal need, my journey kind of became
Right.
It's kind of like the same as Taylor, right? It's like we connect to her because she shares so openly about her heartbreak and her, like you start to really see yourself in that person.
Right.
So it was really more, I think, as people watched me evolve, what I've realized that, and it'll tie into your other question too about how different brands, like let's say a product-based brand could create community. The other thing I realized is that community starts by asking ourselves the question of, what is it that I'm unifying people around? You can unify people around anything, like a product that solves a problem. Like you can create community around. I always use the example of, like, let's say you have a gluten-free product company. It's like, create community around people who are looking to solve that problem. That's a whole movement of people.
It is.
Searching for recipes, searching for, searching for solutions. And what I realize that we're doing within Powerhouse Women that any brand can do is, I think it's the most powerful thing you can unify people around is an aspirational identity. It's like, who do these people want to become? And then how can you, as whether it's you as the face of the business, or I actually think one of the things that we do well within Powerhouse Women is showcase all different types of women, all different
do that really well.
backgrounds, because not everyone's going to relate to me and my specific flavor of how I'm stepping into this aspirational identity. But what unifies us all is that even the name Powerhouse Women, has a very specific energy to it, but it means something different to you than it does to me. But it unifies us all together in that we are all on this journey of becoming our fully embodied selves. So without realizing that that's what was happening, it became, from, the fashion part was, I didn't wake up and say,
My favorite part of it, though.
Listen,
by the way.
This is what people don't know. I was not a fashionable person. I literally decided one day.
You just
Have I
decided
never
to
told
start
you this?
No. You just
Okay.
started dopamine dressing? Like,
Yeah, kind of. So I, when I wrote my book, it was such a transformational experience. I had changed so much on the outside or on the inside,
right.
that I would walk into my closet, and it wasn't like I have nothing to wear. I would walk in and I would be like, whose clothes are these? Like, who is this person?
I've never heard this story. Okay.
I had long like black hair. Well,
I saw it on the cover of your book. Like,
that even was like strawberry blonde. We're talking like, I don't know.
Is that your natural hair color?
No, it's not. Tracy, it's not. And no one told me you're supposed to like also dye your eyebrows. So I was
So you have, like, light
with,
eyebrows?
dark hair, light eyebrows. It was a whole thing.
That's the best.
But I have a younger sister who's 7 years younger than me, and she's so like self-expressed. She's so cool. She like actually walks into our literal grandmother's closet, pulls out like a sweater from like 1980, and she puts together an outfit, and I'm like, you bitch, like, how do you look so cool? And the truth is, like, I always really admired her ability to self-express.
Right.
Where I would buy like the same top
thing
in 5 different colors because it was comfortable. So I would call myself, I would talk about our dynamic and call myself the vanilla sister.
Oh, wow.
And then one day, and I said it kind of like, I wasn't actually putting myself down. I was like, oh, like, she's the stylish one, the fashionable one. And then it was in this period of the book was starting to come out. I'm feeling like I'd changed so much. And one day I heard myself say it, and I was like, I don't want to be that anymore.
Yeah.
I hired a style mentor.
Really?
I hired a stylist. I ended up like calling in an experience that was exactly a match. It doesn't exist anymore in this format, but it was a program a girlfriend was putting together that was essentially like this style transformation program. And gave her full reign to change my hair. Like, we're talking like
Really?
America's
So is
Next
this where
Top
the
Model.
bob came from?
The bob eventually, I wasn't ready for the bob right away. We went from jet black hair to like strawberry blonde. And then
Okay. So from the book cover. Yeah. Wow.
So it was like this experience though of tapping into the energy that I could feel, this aspirational identity, and actually dressing from the standpoint of like, well, what would she wear? What could I externally express that will help me connect with the energy I'm feeling? And so this, I would share about this every now and again within the events and things like that. But it was the 2021 event. It was a couple years before you attended. And it was the first time where I started to get people saying like, where's your outfit from? Like, I need this link. Oh my, I can't wait to see what you're wearing. And I was like, what? But because it's so in line with everything I'm talking about with the aspirational identity, all of us have like a version, and you can tell what it is because if you look at like someone who's dressed really well, and it's something about what they're wearing that resonates with you. That's a key to something inside of you that's wanting to be expressed. And I just started to wear the stuff that I thought I couldn't. Like the stuff I would see other people wearing and I would resonate with it. You know, Dylan Lex, you mentioned, she's like full permission. It's this jewelry brand and it's like full permission just to wear all of the jewelry. All of it.
She does a really good job at just showing up and being like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like, take it or leave it.
Yeah. And there's an energy to not just her as a brand, but then it becomes this energy that
people
anyone who buys the jewelry is doing it because they want to connect in with this aspirational identity that she embodies. So it's just the question back to, you know, what we were saying, like figuring out as a brand, what do you want to connect people around? And what is the aspirational identity that your brand really connects people to? Because when your brand becomes the place where now it's showing me a tangible way that I can start to embody this aspirational person I want to be, plus you're going to connect me with other people who are on that journey so I don't feel like a total weirdo walking into the Powerhouse Women event being like fully dressed like from head to toe in whatever I want to wear. Now it becomes your business, your platforms become a place that they're actually fulfilling one of the deepest human needs that we all have, which is the feeling of belonging.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what, like, understanding that building community, yes, it's a really great marketing strategy, but it's fulfilling such a deeper need on such a deep level that I think what it does is it gives you as a brand the ability to pivot, to go in different directions because people are following along on the journey. And you can't, what makes me most excited about that is like, it's the one thing AI can never duplicate.
Oh, yes.
You can't take it away. You cannot replace true human connection. In fact, I think it just becomes more valuable as technology advances.
I feel like in-person events are going to be so much more desired now too, with like all this, I don't know, it feels like there's a shift. I mean, there was like this thing towards in-person events and then obviously COVID, we got away from it. And now it seems like everyone's like, which events are you going to, you know, every single year. I also want to thank you for bringing fashion to Arizona. Just saying this because you have no idea, like the dark night of the soul that I went through. Like I moved here, like literally like with 2 weeks worth of clothing during COVID with a huge suitcase. And then I decide that I'm not coming back to New York. And I'm like, oh, I guess my life is now t-shirts and shorts. Like, I'm like, I don't even like shorts.
Like, do I buy a cowboy hat? Is this my life now?
Don't even like shorts. And then I'm like, oh my God, there's people here who dress up and it's okay. You know? Yeah. So that's been super fun for me. Jason and I have a joke that if I'm not wearing heels to dinner, it's not a date. And so this gives me excuse to get dressed up more.
Yes.
And we live in this tiny little town of Fountain Hills where people don't get dressed up. So having the Powerhouse Women community and also meeting friends who actually like to get dressed up to go to dinner and do the nice things. And they're always dressed no matter where they go. It's just so fun. Fashion's important.
You know, I think it's important also to distinguish that this looks different for everyone. Yes. Like, I think that's the thing that I most want to make sure as people are like seeing the Powerhouse Women event for the first time, it doesn't mean that you have to.
No.
If that's not your thing. It's really about self-expression. Like, what is the most authentic version of you, and what does she want to wear? And for a lot of us, myself included, most days it is like it's not fashionable. It is the same pair of black leggings, and I'm just like in work mode. But having opportunities like this, even to do the podcast today, and an excuse to self-express in the way that connects me to that energy, and I realize I can create it anytime I want to, right? I can do that on a random Tuesday and go to dinner even though no one else is dressed up, and be the one that everyone's like, who is she? My favorite place to do it
Walk
is
into
actually
Pita Jungle.
the airport. No, the airport. Because
perfect.
it's like, where is she going? Who is she?
You were like wearing heels, like walking through the airport?
Oh, I love like wearing an intentional outfit in the
So
airport,
good.
because you will strike up the best conversations, because people are like, you look like you're important. You're going somewhere.
You're like flying in your half butterfly wing dress.
Oh, that would be excuse me, my wing.
It's over on your side of the chair. Sorry.
That would be the best.
I do want to mention this too, because at the Powerhouse Women event, like the first one I went to, like some people were in like nightclub clothes, and then other people were in like sweats, but like blinged up sweats with like a cute, like, I don't know, sequin top. And so it's not about like being super fancy. It's just about, I love what you said about self-expression.
Yeah.
That's what fashion is, though. It's just an expression of who you are.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been through like a lot this year, and not that I want to bring up any of the things that you've been through, but you kind of have come out of your cocoon. So what is next for Lindsay? Like, what are you excited about?
I feel like what I'm most excited about is really being in a season that I'm just allowing things to unfold. In a lot of ways, this season actually feels reminiscent of the year before I wrote the book, and, Powerhouse Women became this thing that I never knew I was going to start, because it just feels like such a blank slate. And I know you've gone through so many of these transitional periods too, where I'm not going to, do anything different with my business, where the previous season I was ready to leave a previous business. But I think a lot of what changed in me in the last year was I very much left a previous identity behind. So I'm leaving a lot of space. I'm really diving back into just creative outlets.
Right.
And I've been thinking a lot. I think we ended up, I can't remember if we talked about this at Expanders or not, or if it was at this other get together with some girlfriends, but I had listened to this podcast about remembering your unique manifestation formula. And what that means is, if you think back to like periods of your life where everything changed for the better, but then usually it's preceded by like everything goes to shit.
Yeah, like it's really hard. Yeah, like right now.
Exactly. Is like, what if you go back and even like journal out like what actually happened during that time period? For me, I was so restless. I knew I wanted to make a change. I wasn't challenging myself. I said yes to writing this book. What was the book? Okay, the book was a creative outlet, writing, that had no business intention attached to it. When I said yes to it, it made me confront all my fears. It made me kind of like be more visible. And then on the other side, once the book was published, it started to slowly, over like a 2-year period, bring all these opportunities to me that I, like, again, when I say I would have thought too small, if I would have gone into the book saying, here's my business goal, I'm going to do this, I wouldn't have been thinking nearly in the realm of what it's turned into. So all of that to say, I'm going back to, what did that energy feel like? I'm noticing like, okay, what would feel like a creative expression for me right now? And there's a couple of things I'm going to start doing with no business intention behind them. And I'm not even going to share what they are, because like, I don't know if I want to share them yet.
Yeah.
Meaning like, this will either become something or it won't, but I'm doing it for me to remember like what a purely like creative person I am. And then that energy is going to spill into the event this year and the next Expanders retreat and all the work that I'm already doing. But I'm really in this blank slate of having done a lot of healing, in having cleared a lot of my blocks, quite honestly. I'm just letting myself focus more on being than doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let the magic unfold, which is if Lindsay 2 years ago would have heard me say that answer,
like,
she would be like, what is she on? Has she been drinking?
She might be.
Did we develop an alcohol problem in the future and you didn't tell me? No, but I don't know. It's like I finally get it. I get that.
What an amazing place to be, though.
I was making it way harder than it needed to be.
That's an amazing place to be.
Yeah.
To be in that. I feel like I kind of relate this to being in a full place of surrender and just letting things be. It's not very easy for a type A person to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying for myself.
You're speaking for both of us. And I think here's what helped me, that maybe someone listening who is type A, who's me 2 years ago, it's not that I'm not doing anything. Like, I thought that surrender and all that was just like sitting around and waiting for things to happen. No, I have a mission on this planet.
Yeah.
Like, I am here to make an impact. Usually, like, the best things don't come from me, like, being so hard charging toward, again, some arbitrary goal. It's like actually sitting and having a lot more quiet time to sit and be like, okay, what does she need? What does Powerhouse Women need from me today? And the answer I keep getting mirrored back is like, I need you to remember how creative you are. Like, I, even as a child, was so creative. And then I got into like and listen, I love a spreadsheet. I'm also a very logical, like a very organized person, but the more I get focused in the doing, I lose my connection to the pure creativity of actually where all the best stuff happens.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
What's your definition of creativity?
I think it's just like taking an idea and expressing it in some way. And whether that's writing, it feels like it's something that's not coming from my head. It's coming from my heart and soul. That's the difference. Is like, I have great business ideas and I love being in business. Like, I can have creativity in business, but it's something that is coming from just like such a pure place in me. Like, I just think this thing needs to exist.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, I bought myself like crayons and a coloring book the other day of just like, I used to love just like the ritual of like sitting and making something and coloring or painting. I'm not like I'm not really like an artistic person in that sense of, I don't think I'm going to be like selling oil paintings. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll unlock a new skill that I didn't know I had. But writing, I think that I'm like a very visual person. So like, even with the Powerhouse Women event, why that's such a creative outlet, because I'm essentially producing an experience. So like, to me,
all the aesthetics
every
and
element,
everything.
the aesthetics, it's like every song, like I curate the entire playlist of the event.
You do?
I am involved in like every minute detail that creates the experience. So for me, that's what it feels like, is when and I've never thought about that, so thank you for that beautiful question. But it's like, it's coming from a soul place. It's not coming from my logical brain.
Yeah, you have a high vibe creative energy.
Really?
And I'm saying that because it's like very elevated and luxe, like your vision. Even at the dinner we had at Expanders, like, we're having an aesthetic dinner. They're like chandeliers on this like hook hanging over the table.
I have to give credit where credit's due, because the other thing is I also know the limitations to my creativity. And like, we work with Dang Fine Rentals, Montiana Gregory, who's the founder of Dang Fine. I mean, for the Powerhouse Women event, like I also know when I'm working with like a true creative genius, and I just get out of their way. So for her, I was like, here's the vibe, here's my vision. And she comes back with this. She's like, bet. Here she comes back with this whole vision
amazing.
for it. That's beyond what I would have thought, because that's not my specific gifting. I can paint the vision and I can bring all the pieces and all the right people together. But then I also know my limitations.
It's so great. Well,
Thanks.
Everything's amazing. All right. So this has been an amazing, amazing conversation. What if you were to leave, just adding one piece of advice for anyone who's listening today, who is on a journey of stepping into, like, leaving their old identity behind and stepping into this next best version of themselves, what would you say?
Ooh, that's such a great question. I mean, I feel like it ties back to what we were saying about community, but it's taking that and making it personal, because
Right.
there is a shedding process that happens. as you're releasing an old identity, and it will inevitably shed some people. I think it's just important to know that it's just gonna happen, because even if you think about it, like there's such energetic hooks in all of our relationships. And if we're surrounded by all the same people, it's just reinforcing the identity that you're wanting to outgrow. Some people are gonna be ready for you to grow, some won't, some will come back around. But it's realizing that part of that new identity is it deserves to be supported by a community who's going to see you and reinforce that new identity. So whether it's putting yourself in the room at events or, plugging into people who you look up to. If you love this podcast, like dig into Tracy's world and understand, like, okay, who are the other people that are vibing with this? Because you're going to find your people. But that is I think that's the make or break. It's those people who understand that the outgrowing and the shedding of relationships is necessary. It's actually best for both of you. And understanding that your new identity is asking you to support it with a new community, with a few new people who are going to really reinforce that. It's going to speed up the process or make it a lot slower and more painful.
This is true.
Yeah.
I think the more that you fight, I know. I'm like, I just threw that one in there like this. The more you fight, the more resistance you have to letting the old parts of you die, the harder it becomes.
Yeah. And take this from someone who's like, I have had some of the deepest wounds that I have are like the people pleasing, fear of being too much, fear of being not enough.
Yeah.
So the shedding of relationships has been the most devastating part.
It's hard.
And now I have hindsight enough to see that, like, when I walked away from the network marketing team and had I stayed any longer, I would have been an inauthentic version of me, which isn't fair to those people. It's not fair.
No.
So it's hard. I won't say that it's easy or it's just, rip the Band-Aid off, but it's necessary. And I think it's important to know that that's part of it.
It's necessary. Gosh, thank you so much for being with us today, Lindsay. Where can everyone find you?
Probably the easiest place is Instagram. I feel like most of us are on Instagram. The community is Powerhouse_Women. We have a podcast called Powerhouse Women. And then my personal account is Lindsay Marie Official.
I love it. So I'm so excited that everyone should go to the Powerhouse Women event.
Yes.
100%. It's going to be so good.
It's going to be so fun. August 15th through 17th in Scottsdale. And start picking out your outfit now.
Yes. Get dressed. It's a whole vibe.
It's a whole vibe.
Wait, what's different about this event, though? I know you're doing something different this year.
About the additional day?
Yes.
I'm like, I'm always changing things. I'm like, wait, did I tell you the secrets that are different? Okay, we'll tell you the thing that publicly is different, but there's other things up
well, I want to hear the secrets.
I know. Well, maybe we'll see. So one of the biggest things that we get asked is, can we have more time together? Can there be more connection time? Can we go deeper into business strategy? And so this year we're adding a full, 3/4 of a day on Sunday, which we've never done that. We always just do a full day Saturday, Friday night kickoff party. We do pajamas and Prosecco, which is, again, just like so fun, so girly, but it's really intentional. It's a place where we know it can be intimidating to walk into a room of powerful women. So instead, we just have everyone wear their pajamas. They wear their actual pajamas.
I know.
People still get kind of glam with it. They've gone, next level with it. But the whole intention is connection on Friday night. Saturday is inspiration. It's hearing other women's stories. It's just, I think it helps to shorten the time between your big idea and you realizing it, because your subconscious mind sees what's possible. And then we're going to go a little deeper into business strategy on Sunday. So it's going to be a full weekend.
I'm excited for it.
So much fun.
I'll be there.
It's going to be great. Yay. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, this was so much fun.
Thank you so much for watching this episode today. I would love to know what your key takeaway was. If you wouldn't mind, please share that in the comments below. And if you'd like to stay connected with Lindsay or attend the Powerhouse Women event or learn more about the Expanders Retreat, I'm going to have all the information in the little caption. So make sure that you check it out. Thanks so much for watching today. This is Tracy Matthews signing off. Until next time. Ciao for now.